Hello, my name is Amanda, and welcome to Back to the Heart, a podcast for self discovery, healing, and embracing true freedom. And I invite you to join me as we embark on a transformative journey back to your heart, where we get to choose love over fear. All right. Welcome to today's episode of Back to the Heart. Today I have Stacey and Justin from Fortified Health Coaching are with us today. And these guys know everything about health. They've gone into the hormones, the physical side of things, the mental side of things, and have brought mindset into their community. Justin and Stacey are in my community at Enlifted, which I'm chanting community on almost every episode of how important community is. And if anybody out there is not in a community, find a group of people to do this health and healing journey, because it is much easier to do whenever you're in community. So these guys are part of my community and my enlisted coaching that I've been talking about all the time. So welcome, Stacey and Justin.
Thank you. We're super excited to be here. This is a
Yeah.
fun conversation we get to have today.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. Amanda, before we dive into wherever direction we're headed, I'll double click on the community comment and say that I believe, I'm going to take the stance that as we get into a more technology and AI driven world, that specifically in-person communities, online communities are where it starts. That's where more connection opportunities exist right now. My contention is that as we get more into a world where it's going to be hard to discern what's real and what's not on the internet, people will be drawn more to seeing people's faces in person. And so I'm 100% behind you, and I'm doubling down on the fact that people will want to invest in in-person relationships more and more.
I'm all on board with that. And I'm on team community because I've gone through this whole thing in the healing journey of isolation and healing all of my mind, body, and spirit, and just going through all the different channels. And a lot of those geographic community started to shift, as inside Amanda started to shift, that
Right.
outside world really shifted. So it's like starting a whole life over again and reconnecting with people or brand new people in a whole different paradigm. It's a whole different reality. It's so wild.
I love it.
And Stacey?
I will. If you double down, can I triple down?
You know what? Pick a number and just put down behind it.
Yeah, I'm going to quadruple down. Growth only happens in community. We weren't designed for isolation. There is a time to pull back and heal and let bones come together and everything internally repair. And when you're strong enough to stand again, to allow yourself to be influenced by others, because that's an energetic exchange that happens in community. And so it takes a baseline of regulation and healing and identity to be able to step in and know which ones are healthy for you and know which ones you choose not to be a part of. There's wisdom in that. And also it's exponential when you find a group of people heading the same direction as you get there quicker and you stay there longer. So I am exponentially doubling down on, we were wired for connection and not designed for isolation. So if you want more of what you have, surround yourself with people who have it and adopt their behaviors.
That sounds like an Instagram clip right there.
Well, we won't put a beach scene behind it and me in a yoga pose. That will not happen. You will not say that. But yes, it's what I've modeled the majority of my life around in this area of work for the last 10 years of putting yourselves in rooms that you don't belong in yet, so to speak, and learn from the people around you and what are they doing and how do you emulate it and then how do you make it yours? And to do that alone, you become stagnant.
I truly believe that we are all energy and frequency, and you're vibrating with the energy frequency around you. And it's this constant mirroring. And you can either be that brighter light that's shining, or you can be absorbed in that darkness. And I've been in both of those places.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so grateful that I have, because I know that I would not be able to understand that polarity of one without the other.
Oh my gosh. And absolutely. I love that you brought that up. And also, it's really challenging to use language to describe that experience. So we can use descriptive words like, hey, I'm attracted to the light in that person. I'm attracted to, and we can use joy or contentment and all of those things, but those are a frequency. Everything is energy. And also the antithesis is true. You meet somebody or walk into a room and you can feel the air leave. And it is a different experience. And the best language is light and dark. And even so much so to go in, hey, I'm in alignment here. If it's not that dramatic, right? We'll take the drama out of like, not everything's good and not everything's evil. Most of us live in the middle of, am I in alignment here or am I not in alignment? Do these people resonate more like sound that is so pleasurable to our ears? Want to turn it down. And then you get to choose what rooms you want to be in. Because they could be remarkable people and just not in alignment with you. You're like, ooh, cool. You're delightful. But something's off here, and I don't always have words to articulate it.
I think sometimes we don't even know what it is that's happening. I did not realize that before I got into my healing journey, and really being able to identify it even more recently in going through this enlifted training with all of the negations and the soft talk, and realizing how much of that is in our everyday language that we're comfortable speaking, and in conversations that people are close to me. And when you hear that energy of the negation,
Oh my gosh, yes.
it is so freaking powerful. And it's like, when everything that's out there, if you have 70,000 thoughts every single day, and if the majority of those, if 90% of those are negative thoughts already, and if you're around people and they have more negations in their energy and in their language, that breeds that energy of just heaviness. And we've all had it, right? And we have those moments, and the people that are closest to us feel it. That's why you guys, you have such a great energy and connection to be business partners. Like you said, you usually vibrate on the same energy, because if you did, it wouldn't fucking work.
You brought up something we were talking about before we recorded. If you're not watching this on video, Justin and I matched today. We did not plan on matching. We don't talk about what we wear before we come to the office. And so we're like, yeah, our frequencies are really aligned, that more often than not, without discussion, we are wearing, if not the same thing, something very similar. Will we finish each other's sentences? Are there times where I'll look at him and I'm like, could you please get out of my head? Like, I didn't say that thought out loud. So I'm not sure how you got it. And that is one of the things that makes us great. And we like to call it our telepathic teamwork, our supernatural, dynamic duo giftedness. We have a lot of fun words for it.
Whenever you can get onto that same energy, and usually the people around you, the closest person, and you guys being business partners, you're going to be together close. My husband and I are business partners as well. And we did that same thing. We're getting ready to go out to an event, and we come out of the getting ready, and we're wearing matching shirts or the same color or whatever it is. And that's the energy that the person you're close and doing business with or in a relationship with, you want to vibrate on that energy.
I'll tell you where we got to see it that I wasn't expecting it is on the pickleball court. We're playing pickleball. We're playing with my family, and he came along, and one of my oldest sons still lives at home, who is an amazing pickleball player. Shout out to Jonathan, the amazing pickleball player. And Jonathan and him played maybe a couple times together.
He had showed me how to play.
Yeah.
Just me and him like a week before.
What's lower than a novice?
A beginner.
I'm a really beginner pickleball player. My skill set, there is a lot of improvements that can happen in my pickleballing. And so we had never played before. This goes into frequency and alignment, right? And we can get into how then this energy translates into what we do, because this is the baseline of being able to move people forward. And so We won. I've never won a pickleball game ever. Previously, it was the first one. And it was the ability to anticipate the other person's where the other person was going and communicate it. Now, we've tested this in a ton of areas, business specifically, in our friendship, absolutely. And the pickleball court was not somewhere that I anticipated that all of those skill sets that we have, because it is a skill set that we craft and keep choosing to come back to all time and time again, would show up. And then when we were done and we won, first of all, I was so thankful to have won. Second of all, I wasn't surprised. I'm like, because why wouldn't we? What environment could you put us in that would disrupt us? And so then I'm like, well, what other cool things could we do? And one of us has a better skill set than the other. But you're right, because when you are in alignment, you get to do such cool things that when friction comes, not if friction comes, but when friction comes, that you move at the same pace to move through an obstacle, not just past it. And so we get to do it every day in what we do.
And how cool is it to now have these incredible tools at our fingertips to be able to four-step anything. It's so exciting. Have you guys been using it a lot just for the business and I mean for everything? Because it feels like I'm on fire over here with the goals and the wins and just everything. It's been so exciting.
Yeah, no, I echo you there. We can echo you there as far as four-stepping wins. Obviously, four-stepping what we deem as the stuck and suck or the hurtful stories, clean the house, then throw the party type of order of operations there, like we've learned in our Enlifted certifications and that we practice in the community. That part of what I believe we've seen the biggest benefit from is the ability to keep as Mark would say, to keep the tires pumped up on the things that you already currently have going, right? And the things that you want to create. Because if you're going to create anything, that word creation it's a forming of something that wasn't there before, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's literally taking something out of your head and making it visible, right? Or making a version of it. It wasn't there before and you made it there now. And so if you're going to do that, that's a process that typically takes more than one rep, typically takes a lot of reps and a lot of losses along the way, or a lot of times that you're not going to get it perfect and not going to get it right, things of that nature along the way. And so to have a tool like four-stepping, like being able to get a pen and paper and write down your thoughts and then know what to do with those things, right? Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, however you deem it in that story, and then go and have a collection of those things that you can use to prop yourself up on the way to the goal, right?
Mhm.
That has been the biggest benefit, like you said, for us, as far as being Enlifted coaches and taking advantage of the tech for our own uses, for our business purposes, and then being able to turn around and go, hey, this is what we've been able to do with it. And to our clients, speaking with our clients, saying, hey, this is what we've been able to do with it from a personal, like how we got you standpoint, right? And yes, you, Amanda, but also like you, the client, is like, how do you think that you made it to us? Well, we were actually writing about you before you came, right? Not you as in your name, but you as in the people that we want to attract, right? And so
We called you into our energy space, and that's manifestation.
100%, right? It wasn't there and now it is, right? You weren't here and now you are, and you didn't know that you needed us and we didn't know that we needed you. And yet here we are in a relationship together, right? And exchanging energy, like you said, everything being frequency and energy. We're actually getting a chance to go and do this in person tomorrow with one of our clients who lives about a 30-minute drive away. And he was like, hey, why don't y'all just come over to my house and let's do some four-stepping. And we were like, cool, which is a very unique opportunity for us because we work all online, right? We sit on 60, 90-minute Zoom calls all day long. And so to be able to do that and share that space with him and be able to him invite us into his space is a unique thing as well. Touched the subject briefly before, as you mentioned, of how does actually the mindset piece affect your health physically, like affect the systems of your body. And it's not as much as what we do anymore. And we still have these conversations very frequently, but typically the mindset, so the story that you tell yourself, is what's driving a lot of the underlying issues that people experience with their body, right? Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be able to talk your way out of putting a bunch of environmental pollutants into your body and it not affecting you, right? You're not going to be able to talk yourself or story work your way out of that one. However, when we get into the conversation of what's going on internally, we're not just talking about your thyroid numbers, your blood glucose, and how much estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone that you have, right? Which are all things that we would look at on a lab draw, let's say. We're really talking about how is the story that you're telling yourself trickling down into a nervous system response or a behavior pattern, which are really intertwined, that is affecting those physical metrics, that hard data, as we would call it, right? That objective data that you can't argue, like this is on the page, right? It's either went up or it went down or it didn't change. And so when we get into that conversation, it's okay, well, I've tried this. I've tried to eat more vegetables before. Let's just say that's the conversation, right? And I always end up falling off the wagon or whatever their words are. Cool, we can take a look at the words, but we're also going to take a look at where is it coming from that the story that you're telling yourself is you're just not the type of person who eats healthy, or you're just not the type of person who eats vegetables, right? Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, which that we work with a lot of women, so we have encountered this conversation frequently, is like, well, I'm just getting into menopause, I'm just getting into that age, and everything's just harder for me now. And it's like, well, if you say it is, then of course it
Absolutely
definitely is. Now, yes, is God turning that dial down on you? For sure, right? Things are going to drop, right? It's the way nature works. It's a safety mechanism. You're designed that way. Cool. Now what? Right? What's the story you're telling yourself about going into like being in perimenopause, going through menopause, whatever that is? What's the story you're telling yourself about putting hormones into your body to help you out? Right? Is it scary to you? Is it unnatural to you? And people never have that conversation. We don't like to use always and never, and they hardly ever have that conversation with themselves, much less write it down.
Yeah. One thing that I've had to rewrite into my story is rest. And I think especially women in that same age bracket too. I mean, I'm 44, but I'm in like the best health overall, like health being, well-being complete than I've ever been in my life, but it's taken practice. I've put in the reps on all those different components, things that I'm eating and drinking and not eating, and the words and all of the different components that go into it. And just reminding that rest is safe and rest is good and rest is productive, because there's this old mindset that, I think a lot of people, and especially women, got into this like masculine energy of this do all the time. And it's okay to rest. The story that so many people I've seen had about resting, that I don't have time to rest. This isn't going to get done. And that is, what are your thoughts on that, Stacey?
Do you want to get the calendar?
Go ahead and grab it.
No, you're over there. You're over there closer. I'm gonna let Stacey jam on this because she's gonna be able to speak to it from experience. What we like to say, Amanda, is men are the mountain and women are the weather. And so women have needs that change cyclically, right? Even in menopause. Okay. Do you think your brain, even though you don't have a cycle anymore because you're 60 years old or whatever it is, do you think your brain stopped experiencing those ups and downs from the cycle that you experienced for decades of your life? Absolutely not. You are still going to go through mental cycles just like you went through menstrual cycles. See it every day. And so it's not a bad thing. It's a thing to be aware of so that you can take advantage of. The reason we are laughing is because we just recently, I said, Stacey, you need to get a calendar and mark in different colors the days what days you're on and what cycle you're in, because we work with women in their period and cycle all the time, so that I know, not from a don't poke the bear standpoint, from a what is reasonable to ask of her from as a business partner standpoint. What is a reasonable for you to do? Because if I'm asking you to go and contact, 50 people today, I'm not saying that's a
That
random
was
number I made
yesterday,
up.
by the way.
Yeah. I'm not asking you
That
to
was
go and
really
do these things on the days that you have low energy, or if we're doing a real creative project, like, and you have a lot of low energy, or you're just not in that zone today or this week or
Yeah.
how can I align this? How can we align this better
Yes.
to move our business forward faster? So speak on that, Stacey.
I will speak on that because I was the person who operated in so much masculine energy for so long. Grew up very early. Like I was an adult at 10. My grandpa was the man who made me at Fort, as I was the only girl on an all boys soccer team in middle school. Could you imagine? Like even me telling this story, can you imagine like a middle school girl playing on an all boys soccer team?
Have
And
you written a win story on that?
I don't know that I think it's my grandpa's win because nobody dated me until my husband. So my grandpa would pay me
True
$1.
story. Title that story.
Amanda's getting them. She's collecting them.
Is that my grandpa would pay me $1 for every boy that I knocked down on the soccer field. This is why nobody dated me, terrified of me. Why this works is he didn't know to be afraid of me. And so, which was so great because typically most men had been, and I get it. I get it. I was a strong, independent woman. And I grew up in a really rough neighborhood. So all of those things that contributed to the masculine energy were necessary for survival. So when you are surviving, then rest is not an option. And since that time, as my stories evolved, and especially went on a specific health journey for the last 3 years of rewriting that a warrior's greatest stance is that of rest. And even though I was a health professional teaching trauma-informed yoga and doing mindset work for 10 years, the rules applied to everyone else and not me. So I was living this life where my clients were seeing amazing results and throwing my name out everywhere. And I was the most unhealthy I had been in a very long period of time. And so in cultivating, hey, rest is my superpower, then it was one of the things that changed the story that rest isn't weakness. Rest is necessary. So when he comes to me and says, hey, we need a wall calendar, I'm like, I'm sorry, the rules don't apply to me. Still, the story runs a little loudly in the background, a little used on purpose at times. And he's like, the rules don't apply to you. Mountain weather. Cool. And so as I continue to soften, right? Because if we look at timelines and neuroplasticity and how long you've believed something, we see that this process takes a long time. So I spent 46 years of my life being the boss babe, getting whatever she wanted. Nobody said no to me. And why would they? It was just not a good idea too. All of those skill sets that were so complemented of, wow, she can get things done in a season of our life where I needed to. We had special needs children. We had a lot of trauma in our house, advocating in foster care. So the world, so to speak, was contributing to this cognitive dissonance of me knowing like this isn't good for me and my family's in survival and I'm being completely praised for this. That is the story of the majority of women that had to be strong to survive. And what happened was they just stayed that strong because to be weak meant to be taken advantage of or meant to be not able to provide for themselves or to protect themselves and all of those things. And that's not how we were physiologically designed. You can survive. You were designed for two things, procreation and survival. That's really all your brain cares about. Doesn't care about anything else. How do we make more humans and how do we survive? Which comes to the nervous system and connection thing of why we thrive in community. But when you stay in survival too long, and this goes where mindset and health, where we met, and still much of where we do in the work that we do with people is that nervous system response deteriorates the health response. So when we slow the story, when I slowed my story, right? So we'll talk about me and the masculine energy and allowed the edges to soften and trusted but verified that the world didn't fall apart when I slowed down. Actually, I was more clear. When I didn't chase, I attracted more. When I wasn't the one who stayed in front of everything, the problems still got solved and other people rose up to fill the gaps. Then my body not only started to repair, but that feminine energy started to come in. So back to my cycle of, hey, we need this on a wall calendar. My first response was to push back. And the second response was, oh my God, that's so thoughtful that we designed our business around first and foremost our families, which was our priority. That when we sat down, like, we can do this and our families are our priority. So we decided to go with the rhythm of our families first and foremost, because that's the most important thing to both of us. And then secondly, our individual rhythms. And so to be a woman now as an entrepreneur and a business owner and go, okay, not only can you step into your feminine energy, and I'm so thankful that I have him as a really safe masculine partner to do this with, because it allows me to express that more. But then to go like, hey, let's even dial this in more, that you can be still a strong woman and driven and engage in rest-based activities, attract and not demand. And also you can design your life and your business around your cycles. And how much more quickly do we move forward because we took that into consideration instead of overriding and executing, which had been my baseline story for all of the years prior. So yes, my story, the majority of women we work with and what we I still work really hard daily to rewrite.
It's getting in the reps. It takes practice.
100%. There's one for you and your clients, Amanda, is everybody's got a work ethic, but what's your rest ethic?
Yeah.
Right? Nobody thinks about a rest ethic. Nobody thinks about really the boldness and the strength that comes from rest. They think about that from a work standpoint, from putting forth effort standpoint, but really comfort. Like when Mark talks about insecure, confident to comfortable, right? That comfortable only comes with bouts of rest,
Yeah.
because that breath never gets lower if you don't rest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a believer too that we were created to have these moments of stillness. And whenever we can get into that present moment and get into the stillness and be curious of whatever those thoughts are and be in that moment to receive, whether you want to call them downloads or answers or messages from God or whatever, just that divine presence of, that's where that real creation for me has erupted.
My
So,
prior world was yoga. So I have
okay.
1,000 hours
So
of
you can help me with the details here because I'm learning. The lowest chakra is the root chakra, and that's where that safety, and so many people have been in survival mode, like you said, especially women, right? So that safety space, and you saying, I am thankful that I'm in this safe space. My root chakra is safe in this partnership with Justin in this business, that I can have that calendar and be okay with that type of energy, right? But whenever we, especially as women, anybody really, feels safe in that root chakra, then the next one is the sacral chakra. And that's where the creative energy comes from. So if you can't be safe in your space and in your stillness in that root chakra, that energy can't even get to that sacral to create. So that's
you're
like the whole thing with that safe space for women to be able to rest, to be able to create from that sacral chakra.
well, and I'm not sure, how far you want to take this from sacral chakra and safety, but that is where all the sexual organs are, right?
Yeah.
And so we have people throwing around their sacral chakras that aren't safe. And so when we talk about our sexuality being creative, or even for women, something pleasurable, which is something that we run across with a lot of our female clients, like sex is a chore, sex isn't enjoyable. This is not a piece of themselves that they've allowed themselves to fully express because it hasn't been safe, either was abused or taken advantage of, or for the stories that they tell themselves that they are not comfortable in their own body, really that seed of creation, right? Where our sexual literally reproduction is housed in that sacral chakra. If you disrupt the root, right, that we're not
Yes.
grounded, then we have misaligned energy everywhere and stories get
Mhm.
loud. really
Yeah.
loud. So when you say like, yes, this is the creative piece of me, it's also the thing that people don't talk about. Like
Yeah.
the beauty of the sexuality of creation, right? And literally the gift of being female to create life, right? And it living right there. So yes, absolutely. I could tangent on that for a very good time.
I love it. And it's all connected, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, do you guys want to share anything about what you're doing specifically with the audience?
Sure. Yeah, we are transitioning, have flipped the script, so to speak, or really made a decision, which people don't know the root of the word decisions means to cut off. So when you make a decision, you're cutting off other options. So we made a decision to move forward with the mindset, focus specifically on the mindset piece of our practice. So although we do have some people that we still coach, do some health coaching for them, we primarily focus on our method of helping people, which is a combination of the story work. So using the words, the language mechanics, things of that nature, which we and you are both familiar with through the Enlifted method and the Enlifted community, along with more of Stacey's background and expertise in nervous system practices and behavior pattern interruptions, and seeing how those two things meet each other to actually move people forward faster and more permanently, right? So what we're currently doing is helping people move those stuck stories and then helping them figure out where they want to go next, right? What is the thing they actually want to reach for? Like we know what we're reaching for because we have a company together and we're moving that thing forward, right? Just like you do with when you set goals, right? And the way that we do in the Enlifted community, which is the same thing that we practice, right? And so the way that we help people is by, number one, turning down that noise in their head so that they can focus on what's important and they can build themselves up in their imagination, right? Build themselves up in their head. Once they get to a spot where they're like feeling good, right? That process typically involves some behavior pattern changes, right? It starts with a story, but then it goes into, okay, well, how is this rubber meets the road, right? How is this going to affect your conversation with your significant other when you get off this call, right? That type of thing. What are you noticing in your world that this is stemming from, right? That this change is affecting. And so we combine those two things, the daily practices and the story work, to get to the point where we can celebrate the wins. So thank you, Amanda, for throwing that challenge out to Stacey to title and write those, and set a goal or set goals to go and get what you want, right? Like Mark says, the difference between a goal and a dream is that a goal is written down, right? Everything else is just wishful thinking. And so when you get to the point of the conversation that you guys were jamming on as far as how energy moves through your body and how you receive it or don't, you couldn't get what you wanted if you tried as hard as you've ever could, or you couldn't keep what you wanted no matter how hard you try because you're doing things unintentionally that are blocking you receiving what you're asking for, right? And they can get very existential very quick. So we call ourselves bottom of the mountain type people, right? So
tour guides.
Yeah, we're your tour guides, right? We're gonna hang out at the bottom of the mountain, and we're gonna be here where the words meet the paper and where they come out, the sounds that are coming out of your face and what energy is that giving off, right? And so we help guide people in that way to basically reduce overwhelm, overthinking, and in the women that we work with, overworking. And so if you want to connect with us, we are now Justin Carroll _mindset on Instagram, and Stacey J Hansen on Instagram. That's the easiest way to connect with us. You can visit us at fortifyhealth.co/FHC, Fortify Health Coaching.
Where are we going to be? Where are we speaking? What things do we have going?
Well, we're located in North Texas, about 45 minutes north of Dallas, and we will be at a conference in April in Kansas City called NAVRAD, specifically for parents of RAD children in the foster care community. Stacey's giving a presentation. We're running workshops. She's doing yoga. We're doing the whole gamut. We're running the whole gamut there.
Do you want to add anything, Stacey?
We are continually doing workshops. those are the big speaking events we have. And so when you ask me what else is there, is that we do get to work with an interesting demographic of people, both men and women. Typically, people who are attracted to us is people who have larger trauma stories. And if we define mindset as the story that you tell yourself, I'm going to define trauma as a stuck story that hasn't been forced out, of redefining what trauma actually is. And so whether it's first responders and veterans, my husband's still in the military, or foster parents or adoptive parents, which we adopted 3 children from foster care, those are the people that we get to work with, that those are the people really on the front lines doing the jobs that involve the most stuck stories. So most people won't know necessarily what RAD is, reactive attachment disorder, but at the end of the day, everybody has a story, and we're thankful that we get to not only work on our own, right? That now we have a scaffolding to be able to move those, but really to propel people's lives forward. So when they look at themselves, they have more of what they want.
Yeah, it's such a versatile tool. I mean, it works for everything, for anything, all the time. It's been really interesting watching these videos in class of other people's one-on-ones and how surprised we are, even as the students in the course, of like, "Oh, work again." Like, we know exactly what is gonna happen. Like, it's like knowing that the end of the movie, we already know the end of the movie, but, like, somewhere we get in there and we forget, and then Mark's asking the questions, and we're, like, so surprised that it worked again.
Yeah, I have one more thing for you. We had a client call today, and thankfully I get to work with a lot of my friends. And so one of my closest friends is our client. I've got a few of my closest friends that are our clients. And she celebrated a win today. And when we started working with her, you couldn't find a win if it sat on her face and wiggled. And so she started.
You can use that one, Amanda. That was free
Yeah.
of charge. That was free of charge.
So she started her call today with a win. And so when you're looking at how our clients progressing, when they come to you with a win that you didn't ask for, and we're able to 4-step that and pull affirmations out of that. And while we're recording, I get a text from her in regards to, hey, and it was about her job and how amazing she was at her job and how she was seen and how she was recognized. The text I got while we're recording this is, my boss just called me for my opinion. And so when you're like, are you surprised? It's not for the strangers who become your clients, who then become your friends, who then build your community, right? Because that's momentum. That's how businesses grow. It's momentum, and it becomes exponential. It's when the people who are closest to you, that see behind the curtain, they get to see us get it right, they get to see us get it wrong, that they are going, I see your flaws and I'm doubling down on this tech and your coaching, and you get to watch the people you love the most, who your clients go, hey, by the way, my boss just called me and asked me for my opinion in real time. And you're 100% right. It works every single time. Every single time, which is why we were willing to turn our whole business model upside down, to go, this is the one thing we're going to do, and we're going to do it so well and take it farther than we could imagine. And my imagination and vision is specific and clear, is pretty big. And we're going, and not only are we going for it, we're doing it daily.
I love it. And it's like everything is so interconnected, and I think that's the biggest realization in seeing that, somebody may have in your previous world, whenever you were doing something, come to you with an imbalance or an autoimmune disorder, right? Or something that is physically affecting their body and emotionally affecting their whole world because they can't sleep or they're overweight or they're insecure, and all these things have all happened, right? But it comes down to this story of whenever they got molested and they were 7. And when you can get that story out and help them reset their nervous system, and then now all of a sudden losing 15 pounds and getting your hormones regulated isn't as much of a challenge anymore, because it's like you're fighting against yourself. You're your own autoimmune disease whenever that story is stuck. It's like endometriosis. That's what I had. That shit spreads like just attacks itself, and it kept spreading and kept spreading. And until I got out those stories, I wasn't really on the other side of that myself. But that's exactly what it is. That's the ego. That inner critic. That's just that vicious circle.
100%.
I want to put it on a shirt. You are your own autoimmune disorder. Say it louder for the people in the back. And I will tell you how we got here was when I came into nutrition and health. We worked for a different company previously together. I got all the clients that nobody else knew what to do with, that had doctors that couldn't explain what they had. And so when my clients started seeing results that even medical professionals could not move, therapists could not move. And here this girl who doesn't have the physique that matches a health coach was moving people. It's what made him curious. Well, she has the hardest of the hard from an emotional cases, and her people are getting results. What is she doing? And we have miracles, medical miracles that doctors could not solve, that people who are still currently on our client roster, who their doctors do not believe what they've seen because of the work that we've done with the stories and how it's impacted their physiology. I will double down on it every single day. So yes, you are 100% accurate when you said, I wish I would have thought of that. You're on an autoimmune disorder. You're also your own trauma response.
Yes. It's the mirror, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the mirror.
We'll come back to the psychological and emotional inflammation
Oh,
and
yeah.
indigestion every single time, right?
Stress, anxiety,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
it.
I mean, my wife is a nurse practitioner for a functional health clinic, a local one here down in Dallas. And people come to them for, whatever, weight loss, hormones, gut health, all that. And we ended up getting a referral for them for one of their clients. Could not have a bowel movement, like consistently could not poop, to the point where she bought her own colonic machine to put at her house so that she could use it, so that she could at least get some movement. We take her through, I don't know, 4 or 5 sessions, and all of a sudden that's not a problem anymore. That's not a problem anymore. And it's so much not a problem that it's not even noticeable that she's constipated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it really is a question of an issue of inflammation and indigestion, but of what type? It's a combined type, right? It's an emotional and psychological inflammation and indigestion that leads to and exacerbates a physical inflammation and indigestion, because we are energy and our cells feed off of that. They don't have eyes. They only know what we feed it. And so here we are having this conversation about where those two worlds meet. And at the end of the day, it has to start with you getting words on paper, right? Where does that start? It starts with you getting words on paper or on a document, right? On something. We like to say pen and paper is undefeated. So get your pen, get your paper, and start writing.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you guys so much. This has been an incredible recording, a great episode today. Lots of great nuggets, great clips for this one.
Well, thank you for having us.